So I just finished writing some advice really that's just all the things I'd want to tell myself if I was to start business in my 30s. And I'm just going to share this with you. This is going to be a very natural video and one that hopefully you'll find really helpful based on the things that I've learned. So this video is advice for 30-plus-year-olds, people that want to use their business and just learn from some lessons from perhaps those that have experienced things in the last 20 or so years. So this is going to give you some little gems to take away. One of the things I'd say, and the biggest advice I'd give, is actually based on advice. I know you might watch this video and say, well, what use is this? But actually this is advice that's going to last over time, whereas most advice on YouTube, on blogs, on websites won't last over time. In fact, often it dates very, very quickly. So what you read, just check the dates on it first of all, just to make sure it is current, because applying the wrong advice on your business is going to set it back. And also the promises that are often mentioned are very rarely delivered. So just bear that in mind too. When you read all this great promising marketing stuff about a product or some software, my experiences over the years is very rarely does it deliver what it promises. And that's why a money back guarantee is probably always what I would expect from a business. So my point number one I would share with you is just don't accept all the advice that's out there. Often it's echoed as well. It doesn't always come from the same sources. Most of the time it's just advice that's being repeated again and again, and often it's wrong. As you'll see with ChatGPT, with AI, often it says check the advice, because often you find that when you ask AI for something, it's just regurgitating wrong information. So all the advice I'm going to give is going to be a bit more, I'd say, timeless advice. So it will carry on working for years later, which is why this is going to be a video of great value, hopefully, to your business. So I'm going to look at a bit more on advice and what does work. I'm also going to look at some of the qualities that I realize you need to develop. Once you develop these qualities, they will take you through for the next decade after decade with your business. We'll also look at things like websites, online things as well, that will easily date over time, but things you still need to bear in mind, things that will last, principles that will take you through into the next decades. And also the most important thing is where to put your focus as a business person with all the various distractions around you. And we're going to come out with 7 kind of gems really to take from this conversation we're having. So first of all, to explain one of the main things that I learned in life, go back 20 or so years when web browsers were just pretty much Internet Explorer. We'd heard of Netscape as well. So most people didn't really have a choice when it came to browsers, whereas today there's far more, like Mozilla, Firefox, as you know, but there was Chrome, Opera, and so on. So in this situation, what happened was Mozilla had produced what would be considered a really great browser, and they were wanting people to download it, but the majority of people had Internet Explorer. So what Mozilla and Firefox did is they produced this Get Firefox campaign, and on their landing page you could then download it, and if you could prove, or if the cookies realized that you didn't have it on your computer, then by downloading it, that would then be another win for them. And they then, as an incentive, gave other business owners the opportunity to have their own affiliate link so they can encourage other people, say in their business, to download this browser too. Now, why am I telling this story? Well, this is a bit of business advice that I realized that they would pay you $1 every time someone downloaded that link. So I set up a website. It was called Get Firefox, or Firefox Get. It was a play on the words. I then started to advertise through Google Ads. They were new at the time too. Google Ads could allow you to use any words you wanted. So I just put there Get Firefox as my keywords. I was being shown number 1 as an ad constantly. It cost me about 10p or 10 cents a click. We use dollars and cents here. 10 cents a click. And if they then go to the landing page, they would then download the Firefox and I would get $1. So for every 10 cents they clicked, I get $1. Now the average turnaround was about 50% of people that clicked on my ad actually downloaded it and I got paid. So if you do the maths, you can work out that for every $1 I spent on ads, buying 10 clicks, I was getting $5 back. So $1 in, $5 out. It's business maths, but it's pretty straightforward. You can see why suddenly I was throwing hundreds of dollars in and I saturated the UK market with ads on getting Firefox. So for every $100 that goes in, $500 comes out. When you saturate a market, you then have to go abroad. So I then set up a French version, translated the landing page, got it all set up. Did a Spanish one, a Japanese one, a Chinese one, and so on and so on. The point was I realized I suddenly had a worldwide market, and this was very early on. And these are lessons that you'll know today. With YouTube, for example, most of my clients are in the USA, in Canada, in Australia. Yeah, I'm based in the UK. So things can be very quickly go viral on the web now. Now we've got these types of things. But it also, what the other lesson was only 2 months after setting all those things up and having this perfect way of earning money, Google then goes, hang on a minute, because Google was kind of sponsoring the whole Get Firefox thing, and at the same time they were taking the ads, they realized that people were making money out of this. Or they certainly realized I was, and so they cut my ads and said, you can't do that. And so very quickly I lost what was really a money making, a printing machine. So then the following few months, I then realized that everyone was buying mobile phones. So I set up a shop, sold mobile phones. They pay you 40 or 50 pounds affiliate fees for selling Nokias and Blackberries. And once again, I could just advertise Blackberry, advertise Nokia. And it cost me maybe £1 for a click, but then I was getting £40 if I made a sale. So then if you get the percentages right, so maybe 20, 30% of people that clicked were buying, well, again, it was easy money that was coming in. So it's hard to imagine, but this was how it was in the days when ads came out. This is how it was when websites were being built, when domain names were being purchased. There was a lot of naivety as to how these things could be done. Now, Google again just said you can't now use trademark names a few months later, and it finished. The purpose of this lesson really is that all these little short-term tricks to make money, they may work at first, but very rarely do they last. And they certainly aren't part of a long-term strategy, whereas the qualities we're going to cover in a moment are very much going to give you a long-term strategy for your business. So my tip number 2 is that tricks, they may work at the time, but they don't tend to last, and they're certainly not part of a long-term strategy. So what are these qualities then that I learned were going to really help? Well, I tend to cover these on all my videos, and it is just about being honest. Honesty in business, trust in business, authenticity in business is a huge selling factor for success over year after year after year. Now, the challenge you've got is to build up trust, it takes time and honesty. But I remember hearing once an illustration, someone saying that having trust or having honesty is like having a lake where it's really calm. The waters are absolutely still. It's like a mirror. So you look along that lake, it's like an absolute mirror. In fact, you wouldn't know which way up the photo was if you showed someone a photo of that lake. But you know, just one stone thrown into that lake will then cause ripples that will go on and on and on forever. And that's the problem, is sometimes people build honesty and trust, and then something gets proven that it wasn't quite true what they said. And then you lose forever. Those ripples carry on forever. People then don't purchase from you. So building trust, authenticity, honesty in business makes a massive difference, because people will be loyal to you year after year after year, and they will recommend you year after year. So the marketing's done for itself once you get off to a good start. So my lesson number 3 here would be trust and honesty. It takes time to build, but it lasts forever. But one of the things that's going to make trust and honesty even more important than ever before is now that AI is really beginning to come along. So we saw AI come along just over a year ago with ChatGPT, we saw Gemini, we've seen a few other different AI manipulating images, videos, and so on. And we've also noticed on YouTube there's a lot more faceless videos. And I know a lot of businesses that I deal with, they like to have a website, but there's no photos of them. Maybe they use stock photography, or some are now using AI to generate photos and videos. And these are just, again, just to kind of pad out the website. But the problem with that is most customers, when they go to a website, they watch a video, if they're seeing a faceless video, if they're not seeing members of the team, if they're wanting to do business with a local business and they don't know who's behind the business, as AI continues to be more and more in our face, people are going to want to see real people. If they want to sign up with a new doctor or a new dentist, they want to see who it is before they even get there. So this is really key, is having a face to the business, having your team members showing that these are the people, if you're going to say have a manicure, these are the girls that are going to manicure your nails. It makes a massive difference. And so that's the challenge you've got. People don't like to be on video. I don't like being on video, but I've learned that when my website design was struggling and I needed to market, I started making videos. Not because I wanted to be on camera, but because I realized that being personal, someone seeing your face, makes such a difference to how people perceive you. It builds trust and honesty over time, and then businesses then flourish. My fourth lesson here was that although AI won't build trust, real human people will build trust. That's what you need to be aiming for. So you see that honesty is really important, but how can you get your focus of your business to actually support that type of those qualities? You'll find there's so many distractions, so many different things. And also, what formats do you use? Do you just go with YouTube? Do you go with a website? Do you build your own website? Do you expand into different businesses? Do you run several different businesses? How can you cover all these bases? The problem most people find is that as AI and as phones and as computers have come along more and more, then they get more and more distractions and it's really hard to get a focus. So how do you get a focus for your business? How can you make every decision you make always focusing on what you're trying to achieve? Well, it goes back to an illustration I heard a while ago about if you were to try and burn a piece of paper with a magnifying glass in the sun, you'll know that when you have that magnifying glass, the first thing you try and do is you try and get it all so that the beams are focused on the smallest point possible. And you'll know that if you just wave the magnifying around on a piece of paper, it won't burn a hole in the paper at all. But if you focus on one piece of the paper with its intensity, the heat of the sun will gradually burn a hole in the paper, and you can even start a fire that way. So how does that relate to business? And how's that going to help us? Well, most businesses that I speak to don't seem to have any clear identity as to what their elevator pitch is, or what their tagline is, or what it is that they're supporting as their main goal. So I talk about an elevator pitch on a few of my other videos, and really what that's saying is if you went into an elevator with someone else and you said to them, what floor do you want to go to? And they're saying, well, floor 20. So you press 20. As you stand in the elevator, they might say, well, what do you do? And you've now got maybe 10, 15 seconds before you reach floor 20 to concisely say what it is that you do. So you might then start to explain it. But very easily, you can be so kind of unclear as to what it is you do because you don't in your own mind know what it is that you focus on. So you might say the nature of your business, but what is it actually? Where are those qualities in your business? And you'll notice a lot of businesses will have this type of information very clear, ingrained in their mind. It's known as the elevator pitch. And once you know what yours is, then it's much easier to always keep a focus because you can just say to yourself, if I do this, if I make this decision for the business, will it help to focus back to what it is I'm trying to achieve through my elevator pitch? Or often you can condense it down to a tagline too. And so we'll look at a few elevator pitches in a moment of famous people, and you'll notice exactly what they've tried to achieve through this. But also, if you're using a tagline, so L'Oreal go because you're worth it, they've realized that the key to even a tagline or to an elevator pitch is to try and think of in terms of not what they want, but what their customers want. So in their case, they want to feel good, the customer does, so it's because you're worth it, you go with L'Oreal. So what about other businesses? What have they done? Well, you'll notice even their elevator pitches are always based on what the customer wants, not what they want. And this is another key point then that I'm trying to really express to you is just bear in mind, the focus is very easy to be on ourselves, but actually if the focus is on the customer, then you'll really set that paper on fire. Here's some examples. So Steve Jobs says, you've got to start with a customer experience and work back towards the technology, not the other way around. Jeff Bezos says, we see our customers as invited guests to a party, and we are hosts. It's our job every day to make every important aspect of the customer experience a little better. And Jerry Gregoire says, the customer experience is the next competitive battleground. And I'd agree with that once you realise that it's all about the customer, it makes a massive difference to how your business is perceived by customers. In the 80s, they used to say the customer is always right. They were just words. There was no backing of that. But really the customer should feel that they are always right in a sense of what they want is what you provide. So think in terms of, for a customer, do you really understand their problems? Do you really understand the solutions they need? Not the ones you think they need, but the ones they really need. Do you understand the customers, what they needed for help? So is your FAQ really aimed at what the customers want, or are you been thinking too much about keywords? And also, do you speak the language of the customer? So you know all the technical advice, you know all the technical machines and gadgetries that you use and the technical terms for your services and products, but your customers don't. So are you talking on their level, or are you talking on your level, on your website, the way you communicate through various social media and so on? So my fifth tip here would be to have a clear focus, and then that will help you make decisions as to what it is you're trying to achieve for your business. And my sixth point is, don't say you understand a customer, but actually show you understand a customer. Now that brings us on to the biggest issue yet, and this is really to do with your online presence, your marketing. How is your brand even perceived online? And most people get this so wrong. So really, this is going to be the most key area of this video for you. So when it comes to your websites, and I've been designing websites now for 30 plus years, and it was interesting that when we first started building websites, there was very little effort to make the customer feel special. In fact, should be grateful they were even getting a website from our business, was the kind of the initial view of how we perceived or how we put out our business. So it's a case of people needed to adapt with our website initially. But when you're perhaps designing your website, are you sat there, you're looking at your large screen, your large monitor, and not really appreciating that most people are probably somewhere on a sweaty train trying to find perhaps the nearest business that's yours on their mobile, and they're being bounced around, maybe it's really squashed. And if your website doesn't load properly or in a fast way on a website, very quickly people aren't going to be coming to you for your business. So this is a key thing I try and educate people when it comes to websites, is try and see it from your customer's point of view. We saw earlier that people have different browsers, they have different operating systems, and they'll certainly have different ways in which they view your website. So your website needs to be mobile friendly, it needs to load fast. It also needs to be designed with them in mind. I mean, a few years ago, people on a website always had the About Us page, but actually no one really reads it. I mean, it's true that maybe you might want to get some background on the business, but just think in terms of really, that's more of a historical lesson for yourself, and maybe you're thinking about us as being helpful in some sense, but really it's about them. What is it they want? So the home page and most of the website and the menu needs to be written with them in mind, offering all sorts of ways in which they can contact you, and also showing them who you are. We mentioned that previously. Show them through videos that you're real. With AI, that's going to be a real big thing too. Another thing as well is when you say on your website, we are the greatest product, or we are the worldwide, world-known version of this particular service, it says who? This seems to be something that just saying these things means nothing. So this is the key as well, as building up testimonials, building up case studies, and having real people with real reviews. And even if things aren't always quite right, that's not a bad thing, because how you handle those reviews shows also the authenticity of your business. Those are the types of things that I'd encourage. So this seventh tip is focus on your customers and not on yourselves. And if you do that as well, that makes a massive impact on how people feel comfortable doing business with you. But one of the biggest things you can now do, and take all this advice really, what I would now say is, if I was to do one more thing, it would be I'd tie up all this brand. So if I've got a website, if I've got a profile on Google Maps, if I've got a profile on, say, Bing, or on Apple, on Yale, I've got citations here, I've got indexes there. My brand might be all over the place, but the nice thing is you can sew it all together in one place. And that's through Google Business. And because Google is spidering the web, it knows a lot about your business already. And ultimately, I think we all agree that at the moment, being top of the search engine is going to get you traffic. Very few people realize, but YouTube is owned by Google. So when you put something together on YouTube for your business, showing that face, showing that person who you really are behind your business, Google knows that because Google owns YouTube. So it spiders it. You'll see that in the results on Google, you'll get more and more video results. Google, in effect, is saying, actually, if you want a second search engine, then go to our video search engine, which is YouTube. And the two marry together. And as AI gets introduced more and more, and it understands what's being said on the video, you'll see more and more people will be making videos. This is the way forward. So how do you marry all that together? Well, I put together a video here that shows you how you can get all your social profiles all in one place so Google knows exactly where to go so that it can influence your brand to rank even higher in the coming weeks and months and years with the principles we've looked at today. So hopefully this has been a really useful video. If there's anything about this video that's been useful, put some comments down below. If not, then get those social profiles sorted on your business here. I'll see you there.